the decision for the interest of public at large. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, this morning, we are coming to open up, so just pay attention and then make sure that any assessment that will come out, we use it for any future corrections. On that note, I thank everybody who is participating in this activity, especially Reverend Chairman and my Deputy Energy Minister, for your time you are going to be with us for the day. God bless you all.
I think another round of applause will not be out of place. Thank you very much. Let's acknowledge ENI, one of the reporting institutions. Thank you very much. Let's acknowledge the Petroleum Commission of Ghana. Petroleum Commission. Thank you very much for coming. I see ACAA. ACAA. Okay, thank you very, very much. At this point, just like the PIAC chairman indicated in his purpose statement, the critical role GIZ SECO played in getting this report out, it is appropriate to hear a word or two from the donors. So I would like to invite Dr. Bukari from the Swiss Embassy to make a statement or two before we proceed. Please, let's welcome Dr. Bukari.
Reverend Chairman, Honorable Deputy Minister, Professor Chairman of PIAC, the Vice Chair, committee members, PIAC Coordinator, staff of the PIAC Secretariat, representatives of various reporting institutions, members of the media present, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols duly observed. The onset of oil and gas production in Ghana came with some euphoria and excitement. This was expected, as it has been the case in countries that found oil and gas. Fast forward, here we are, 10 years of production of these resources. Indeed, 10 years of oil and gas production is an important milestone, and so it is worthy of evaluation. In some resource-endowed countries, there is a big challenge in revenue generation, revenue management, and translation of massive economic rent generated from natural resources to reduce poverty, improve growth, and the overall well-being of citizens. We are particularly happy that there was the realization to evaluate occurrences so far within the governance landscape of the sector. The Swiss and the German governments support through the GIZ in the different phases of the governance project has established a solid foundation with partners in the oil and gas sector, particularly governmental, quasi-governmental, and credible civil society actors to collaborate in finding lasting solutions to key governance challenges of the sector. And examples abound of poor management of oil and gas resources within the sub-region, but Ghana seems to be doing well with governance indicators in these areas after taking vital lessons from the mining sector. Ladies and gentlemen, this evaluation of Ghana's performance since the beginning of oil and gas production against basic international governance indicators and standards is important because it helps us to reflect on how best we could move forward with the recommendations of the report. Indeed, the recommendations contained in this report covered issues across the oil and gas value chain, and it would be an important document for initiating the needed policy dialogue and reforms in the subsector. Ghana, as a resource in that country, is to some extent blessed to have a stable government, smooth transition of political power, as well as commitment by political leadership to perform well in oil and gas resource management. there's always the temptation to skew discussions of the sector to revenue management issues. The oil and gas value chain consists of various segments with unique sets of challenges. SECO and the GIZ, together with our partners, devised interventions aimed at alleviating or dealing entirely with the governance issues within the value chain over the past decade. Direct and indirect collaborations with state and non-state institutions such as the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Ministry of Finance, PIAC, and the Ghana EITI have all yielded positive results. Reverend Chairman, the 10 years history of technical and economic support and relationship building within PIAC has brought about some important results worthy of commendation. From our side at SECO and from the GIZ, as solid partner institutions who supported PIAC right from the formation of the committee in 2011 till date. We are proud to be associated with the successes of PIAC, including but not limited to the following. We note that over 63% of recommendations in PIAC's reports have been implemented by various government institutions and agencies concerned. We also note that the performance of PIAC reflects in the 2021 Resource Governance Index, performance of Ghana in the Natural Resource Governance Indicators for oil and gas sector. And this indicator assesses Ghana on 3 criteria, namely 1, value realization, 2, revenue management, and 3, enabling environment. We are proud that the overall score for Ghana's oil and gas sector is 78 points out of 100. We are more than impressed with the individual score for the 3 criteria, value realization being 79%, revenue management 85%, and enabling environment 71%. Indeed, SECO and the GIZ interventions in the sector through the different phases of the governance project directly touches on these broad categorizations. The overall score indicates that Ghana is doing well in its extractive resource wealth management. Whilst we are here to evaluate and reflect on the successes and failures, we should also pat ourselves on the back for how far we have come and continue to work towards a common goal of improving governance of the sector and ultimately making sustainable impact. Our commitment to continuously improve in governance will reflect in how well we implement the recommendations in this report. Ladies and gentlemen, SECO and the GIZ made a decision to support the production of this report through our consultancy with Parties GOPA. This is due to continued commitment to the worthy cause of improving transparency, accountability, and strengthening institutions. We want to thank the team of consultants who worked on this report. We also want to encourage PIAC to actively engage with relevant institutions to implement the recommendations of the report. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bukari of the Swiss Embassy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like us to especially acknowledge both GIZ and SECO for the support they gave for this project. It's a very immense support. PIAC is very grateful to both institutions for their support, which has yielded the results of our gathering today. So now we want to receive the highlights of the report we are talking about. But before we do, I'd like to indicate that the seats to my right and front are reserved for your very good selves. So I'd respectfully ask that you move forward. You are the very dignitaries for whom the seats have been put there. Those covering the event on video would need to get a good picture for us. So particularly for those of us at the back, I respectfully plead with you to occupy the very seats that have been reserved for you. As we invite to the podium once again, Professor Kwame Adom-Frimpong, Chairman of the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, to present to us highlights of the assessment
Good morning once again. The reports what I'm coming to do here is to give you a summarized report, because the report itself is about 300 pages. So if I say I'm starting from page 1 to page 300, then you have to take 2 weeks here and then finish the job. But this one is just the highlights. So kindly pay attention as you move forward. This is the introduction or introductory stage. After a decade of the PRMA implementation, PIAC found it necessary to undertake an assessment of Ghana's management and use of petroleum revenue to identify areas of strength and weakness, to strategize. As I mentioned earlier on, the third mandate given to PIAC is to do independent assessment. And that assessment will enable us to report to Parliament and Executive for them to take decisions. It also assists us as a guide for what we are doing about the management of petroleum revenue. So the purpose of this assessment or this report to assess the performance of the institutions assigned during duties, those who have been assigned duties by the PRMA for the past decade. It also evaluates the socio-economic impact of the management and use of petroleum revenue on the development of Ghana. And finally, it assesses the extent of implementation and achievement of the objectives of the PRMA and the use of petroleum revenue for the past 10 years. So all boil down to assessing how the use and management of petroleum revenue has been made since 10 years. If you look at the report itself, it has 8 chapters, 8, from introduction to conclusion. But in summary, we are going to discuss about the 4 areas which were highlighted at the beginning of the report, and then you look at some emerging issues after 10 plus years of oil and gas production in Ghana, and then you also look at the impact of petroleum revenue on Ghana's socio-economy and real sector. After that, you look at the findings and then come out with the recommendations. As I said, this is just highlights. If you get a main report, it will make it easier for you to remember what we are going to discuss. Now, the first one, before you look at the first one, we have 4 areas. The 4 areas are petroleum production, sales, and revenue collection. The second one, under the 4 areas, are revenue allocation, distribution, and utilization. And then we come to management of Ghana Petroleum Funds. And the last one, under the 4, institutional assessment of petroleum revenue management, including broader sectorial government issues. So we will take them one by one before we come to the emerging issues. So the first one, which is the petroleum production, sales, and collection, revenue collection. Here, the question we ask ourselves, what are the petroleum production and sales processes, and how they optimize value creation for Ghana or the country? And the answer is that Ghana's crude oil has increased from 3,236 barrels with first oil in December 2010. So the quantity we had in 2010 was 3,236, and we are able to increase it to 1,361 as at December 2020. So if you compare 3,236 to 1,361, 10 years, there has been 44% increase. When it comes to the revenue side, as at 31st December 2020, the total amount we've generated from the production of oil was $6.55 billion US dollars. $6.55 billion US dollars. That is from 2010 to 2020. And it's 9.97, approximately, that's the increase. And when you break it down, you have components or elements of the revenue. So the first one is the carried and participating interest. That one is the highest revenue source, and that is 58%, at 3.81 billion. And then you have royalties. That's the right to use the space. It's 25%, and that is 1.64 billion US dollars. And then you have corporate income tax, is also 17%. The corporate income tax is tax on profit of the institutions doing the production, and that is 1.08 billion. You have other miscellaneous income, like interest on the holding fund and others, but those ones are very minimal ones. So if, assuming I'm closing today and you are going home, they ask you, how many barrels do you have since the production of oil? You just tell them that we have 183,361. We began from 3,236, and 10 years, there have been 44% increase. And carried and participating interest, that's 58%, and royalties 25%, and corporate income tax 17%. When it comes to revenue allocation, distribution, and utilization, these are the questions we are expecting. What agencies are involved in petroleum revenue allocation? What are the allocation system, especially ABFA, that's the annual budget funding amount, optimized value creation for the country? Are petroleum revenue allocations compliance with the PRMA? To what extent is there public engagement? And then are there sufficient disclosures, including explanation, the rationale for using discretionary powers? So here, the agencies involved and how allocations are done. We have Petroleum Holding Fund, that's PHF, as you are aware. When we get the money from the petroleum, the first place that the money will go is the fund being kept by Bank of Ghana. After that, the distribution will go to National Oil Company, particularly GMPC, and then the annual budget fund, that's the amount you use to support the annual budget. And then we have Ghana Petroleum Fund, made up of Stabilization Fund and Heritage Fund. So this is how our money we get from production and exploration is distributed. Of course, GMPC always have 55% of the carried and participating amount, and then the annual budget fund, together with GMPC, will not exceed 70% of the total revenue from the petroleum revenue. And then Ghana Fund will take 30%, 21% will go to stabilization, and 9% will go to heritage. So when you come to management of Ghana Petroleum Funds, the question we normally ask, what are the philosophical underpinning of the GPF, that's Ghana Petroleum Funds? How have flows into the GPF changed over the years? And what political economy factors have driven the management and use of the GPF over the past decade? Let's see what is there. Here, when we talk of Ghana Petroleum Fund, as I said, we have two funds, Stabilization Fund and Heritage Fund. And if you look at the PRMA, section 21, it will tell you that stabilization fund is set up purposely to cushion the economy when there is a decrease in or depletion in the amount of petroleum revenue supposed to go to ABFA. So the GSF is a fiscal stabilization fund and has a short investment horizon with highly liquid investment to be able to meet unanticipated withdrawals. What does it mean? You put the stabilization fund just to cushion, and you don't know any time you will call for that amount. An amount which you don't know when you go for it, you don't put in the long-term investment. That's why we classify it as a short-term investment, because if you put it as a short-term, the maturity date is also a short-term. So therefore, you can go for it at any time. But if you put in the long-term, then it becomes a problem when you need it urgently. And here, the management of it, first of all, the purpose of managing that fund is for safety purposes. That's to maintain assets of high credit quality with negligible default risk, and then also liquidity to ensure that the portfolio of the Ghana Stabilization Fund hold ample liquid instruments to meet immediate fiscal needs. And the last one is capital preservation. That's to safeguard the capital of Ghana Stabilization Fund. That's the purpose of the management. When we come to Ghana Heritage Fund, the Heritage Fund was established for the purpose of creating wealth for future Ghanaian generations. It's a long-term investment. That's the opposite of stabilization fund. Long-term, because that one you can't go for it frequently. Even you can't go for it according to the law. So that's why we invest it for long-term purposes. An objective just like the stabilization fund for safety purposes, capital realization, and then diversification purposes to invest in a mix of negatively correlated asset classes. That's where the investment should be as a watchdog, so that you can invest it properly to generate more income. Because the little we know is that the longer the investment, the higher the interest rate. So if you look at this slide, you see yearly Ghana Stabilization Fund withdrawals. I said the Stabilization Fund is there to cushion ABFA in times of decrease in the petroleum revenue. So the analysis they made was that 74 of the withdrawals from the GSF had been used for debt repayment. 21% had been allocated to contingency fund to deal with national emergencies, such as COVID-19 pandemic, and then another 4% to shore up ABFA shortfall. In fact, at a glance, all what you know is that it used to cushion the ABFA in times of needs. But if you analyze it, you have a contingent fund where the minister, you get to know that the minister has power to cap the stabilization fund. Any amount above the capping, the excess will go to the stabilization fund, the excess will go to the contingency fund. So this contingency is created from stabilization fund so that in times of emergency or unforeseen circumstances, the nation will rely on it. So 21% are so far gone there. And then if you look at the debt repayment, that's the debt service account. You have already mentioned that 74% were used. The amount you've drawn from stabilization fund, 24% was used to pay debt, and then sinking fund. I'll come to ABFA. Sinking fund. Sinking fund is a fund we create. Not only the government, you yourself can create a sinking fund if you owe. The purpose of sinking fund is to accumulate funds to pay what? Debt. So in the long run, the money we get from the sinking fund, you use it to pay what? Debt. Another way is to use it to replace wasting what? Assets. But as far as this sinking fund is concerned, we use it for repayment of debt. So if you add the sinking fund to DSA, that is the debt service account, 24 plus 50 gave us the 74%. ABFA, the actual amount which we have withdrawn from stabilization fund for the use of ABFA is only 4%. So you know, if you look at the total, you've withdrawn 1.2 million US dollars, and that's the 100%. So that is your petroleum fund. When we come to heritage fund, as I said, the heritage fund was set up for future generations, especially the unborns. Now we have enjoyed a little, even though it didn't come to our pocket directly, we are enjoying indirectly. So the heritage funds, the amount we have in the heritage fund as at 31st December 2020 was $644.79 million US dollars. That is from 2010 to 2020. That's the amount we have accumulated. And here how it's made up of 585.48 was allocated, while 59.36 was the interest accrued on the 585.43. So if you add up the two, you get a 644.79. So if they ask you how much do you have under Heritage Fund, that is the amount we have now. Let's look at the political analysis of the management and use of Ghana Petroleum funds. Here I've mentioned already that the Minister of Finance is given a discretion subject to parliamentary approval to cap how much can be accrued to Ghana Stabilization Fund every year. What it means is that the Stabilization Fund, we are supposed to send 21% to Stabilization Fund. But at a certain level, it should not go beyond a certain amount. If it goes beyond, then the discretion of the Minister of Finance, you can take that excess and then put it under contingency fund. So the cap can be reviewed downwards when oil prices fall or upwards in period of high oil prices. That's the discretion of the Ministry of Finance. It's not only this Ministry of Finance, any minister who comes has that power. So to curtail the arbitrariness in determining the cap of the GSF, the Petroleum Revenue Management now provides more clarity on how the cap is to be determined. You have to give a formula so that it won't be a free scoring. When it comes to Petroleum Revenue Management at 2011, accumulated resources of Ghana Stabilization Fund shall not exceed an amount recommended by the minister. That's what I've explained. That's the cap. The minister in recommending the maximum amount of accumulated resources of Ghana Stabilization Fund ensures that the amount is not less than average budgeted funding amount over 3 years period. And that's the formula of calculating the cap. Now let's come to the institutional assessment of petroleum revenue management. What is the responsibility of the various actors on petroleum revenue management in Ghana? How have these institutions performed in their role? That we try to assess the institutions who have been entrusted with petroleum revenue and then their performance. Of course, these are some of the main ones, but others who are also there. You have Ministry of Finance. We could see that the PRMA gives a lot of powers to Ministry of Finance. Even when it comes to stabilization, it can cap it, and it has a lot of duties as far as reporting is concerned. We have our own Bank of Ghana. The whole money goes to them before distributions are made. So they also make sure that records keeping of the allocation from the PHF, that's the holding fund, is intact. Our almighty Parliament of Ghana, we report to Parliament, so I can say they are our immediate boss. But of course, they do a lot of approvals. Ghana Revenue Authority, the name implies, they are there for taxation. And remember, the whole 6.55 billion, they generated 17%. They are doing a very good job, but the doors are open for improvement. And then, apart from PIAC, we also have Investment Advisory Committee. They also perform like PIAC, but their purpose is to ensure that investments are made efficiently. Our Auditor General, they do public audit, not only petroleum sector, but all sectors in the public institution are under Auditor General. And they have to make sure that internal controls are put in place and they are adhered to as prescribed. And then you have Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC. They are the sole institution. They are the managers of all the petroleum sector or petroleum exploration. They do a lot of job. Without them, it would have been a problem, but you come to them. Then our own PIAC, we are there for the 3 mandates the PRMA has given to us: monitor compliance, create a platform for public forum, and then do assessment as we are assessing it today. Petroleum Commission is a commission as an authority for petroleum sector. So these are the main actors, and their duties is what I've summarized. So the report centered a lot on GNPC, but I can't go through all the pages. So this particular area is what we will discuss. It's GNPC, because GNPC is the sole institution. All distributions, without them, I don't think petroleum production can go on. So GNPC was established in 1983 under the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation Act, 1983, PNDC Law 64. Their primary mandate is to serve as Ghana's national oil company to undertake the exploration, development, production, and disposal of petroleum. I won't go far. There are specific functions they have to perform, which comes under this mandate. So when you get the report, I think you understand it more than what I'm bringing it out. Apart from that, the report also came out with evolution of GNPC activities, the activities that have been taking place from 1984 to 2000, 2001 to 2010, and then 2011 to 2020. That's the historical background, the activities they have undertaken a lot. And then the next one is GNP subsidiaries, strategic investments, and joint ventures. They do so many things. At times they partner with other companies with the purpose of getting more revenue to improve the welfare of Ghanaians. To 2020, if you want to know the amount GNPC has received from 2010 to 2020, it is also there. The breakdown, the amount they have received on yearly basis is there. The report also explains capacity building initiatives when you talk of capacity building, it's not only the employees of GMPC, and you can see they give scholarship and other training, they do so many things. Those are also enshrined in the report. The corporate structure of GMPC, which the report hammered on it, so it will give you a detailed structure of GMPC corporate reporting. And that's the area you have to also look. When you come to findings, it is there, and then there is a recommendation also there. The number of staff working with GMPC from 2010 to 2020, it will give you every year, and you can conclude whether, it's satisfactory or not satisfactory. But no, they are there to promote the enhancement of petroleum revenue, to make sure that the amount we get from petroleum revenue will be at the welfare of the entire nation. Now we have core stakeholders. We have a lot of stakeholders, as you mentioned, subsidiaries, strategic investment, and joint ventures. There are many, so they are not dealing with themselves alone, a lot of stakeholders. On this, the report did assessment. We have inadequate, meaningful, satisfactory, beyond. This shows the level of progress of each actor or institutions under the management of petroleum. Ministry of Finance, meaningful means they are doing their work all right, but there's more room for improvement. Bank of Ghana has been given satisfactory. It means we are satisfied with. Parliament of Ghana, meaningful. They were rated the same level as Ministry of Finance. And then GRA, also meaningful. Meaningful means they are doing their work all right, but there's more room for what? Improvement. And then Investment Advisory Committee, their work is inadequate. It means it's not meaningful, neither it is what? Satisfactory. So they need to come out properly. It means their investment is not efficient as we are expecting. Then you have GMPC, their work also, they are doing their work, so meaningful. A lot of room for improvement. That's why they haven't come to satisfactory level. When you come to PIAC, I wish it would be beyond, because if I'm marking myself, I won't fail myself. I will give myself beyond, but this was done by independent assessor. So PIAC is under satisfactory. But if you compare the grades, I think we are among the first. But there are a lot of room to build, to improve. And then we have the last one, Petroleum Commission, rating the same as PIAC. So according to the report, this is the level of progress. And apart from Investment Advisory Committee, the rest are all meaningful or satisfactory. But of course, nobody has entered into beyond column. So let's do our best and reach there. Emerging issues after 10 years of oil and gas production. Here, we are relating it to ABFA in particular, spending allocation of oil revenue under PRMA. You know, the PRMA was established in 2011, that's the Act 2011, Act 815. And since then, it has been amended by Act 893. The other changes which has been taking place from 2014 to 2020. So we have Ghana Infrastructure Investment Funding. First, nothing was going there. From 2014 to 2016, no amount was going there until 2021, when they started recognizing the GIF. And again, 5% District Assembly Common Fund. Even though it was there, we are not using it. So through the case of or decision of Podo and others versus Attorney General, the Supreme Court ruled that 5% should be allocated from ABFA to District Assembly Common Fund. Passage of Petroleum Revenue Management Regulations, 2019. In fact, those acts were there, but there wasn't any regulation. So when it comes to ambiguity terms, it was difficult to explain. Now we have one, and that is 2019. So as I mentioned earlier on, all the money goes to Petroleum Holding Fund, and we divide it, Ghana Oil Company, GMPC, some will go to support the budget, and some will also go to Ghana, that is the Petroleum Fund. So when you look at the national company, that's the GMPC, they spend their own money. Funding amount, the annual budget funding amount, we've created in such a way that some of the amount to go to service the public investment, that's the capital spending, and some will go to consumption, that's the recurrent. So we have capital spending and recurrent spending. And then little will be given to PIAC for funding, which is not sufficient, but is recognized. But when you look at the public investment, the capital spending, 25 of the public will go to public investment amount, which hitherto nothing was going there. So that is the public infrastructure and investment amount. 25 of the capital spending will go there. The same thing when you come to capital Ghana Stabilization Fund, any excess cap will go to contingent fund. That's I've already explained. So some of the emerging issues we have local content and lack of leakages. Here, Ghana upstream petroleum industry is still largely an enclave with local industries largely limited to the non-technical aspect of the industry. According to the report, most of the experts are taken from outside, that looking at the local, but luckily we have local content regulation which is coming to cure this sickness. Now, in addition, you have African Continental Free Trade Area also supported. But remember, African AFCFTA, when they come in, those members, whether they are Ghanaians or not, they also become local. Then you have energy transition. The emerging energy transition also affected the upstream petroleum industry globally. And Ghana is no exception. And then you have a problem or challenges under licensing. The energy transition poses real challenges to competitive bidding at the default system of the licensing. Hence, there's the need for fundamental relook at the way licensing is to be done in the future. These are their findings. And again, you have stabilization clauses, which also explain that before a change in the act, they also should base it on the changes in circumstances prevailing in the country. And then the cost monitoring, that GRA, for example, they get their revenue from the profit of the institutions. And this profit is obtained by deducting the cost from revenue. How they arrive the cost, nobody, lack of, I would say, auditing. So they declare any profit they think fit. But of course, the auditors will check it. But what they are saying that there should be a cost monitoring. Anything that goes into the cost should be monitored so that the cost will be in compliance with PRMA so that the profit margin will be higher. When it comes to the impact of petroleum revenue on Ghana's socio-economic and real sector, first, we are addressing Section 21, subsection 2 of the PRMA, that is the 2011 amended. Here, there are 4 objectives of allocation the ABFA. Has ABFA maximized the rate of economic development? Has ABFA promoted equality of economic opportunity? Because under the Act, there's no question mark. It just states emphatically that ABFA is going to maximize the rate of economic development. ABFA is going to promote equality of economic opportunity. ABFA will be used to undertake an even and balanced development. And ABFA allocation and disbursement will be used to be guided by a medium-term expenditure. And the question is question mark. Have all these things been done? Of course. ABFA, we have the leakages and we have the benefits. Under the for the petroleum revenue financing under national budget. As I explained earlier on, ABFA spending is of 2 folds. Public investment, consumption is 3. Public investment, consumption, and a little for PIAC funding. With public investment and consumption, and in the absence of long-term development, 12 priority areas are to guide revenue utilization. So the public investment will be spent on selection of 4 from 12 priority areas. However, the government is enjoined to prioritize not more than 4. As you can see, we have 12 priority areas. Every 3 years, the government can choose 4. And that 4 chosen can last for or can be reviewed every 3 years. So the ABFA allocation criteria is just like the question I asked: maximize the rate of economic development, promote equality, undertake even and balanced development, and will be guided by medium-term expenditure. So let's look at the selected areas so far from 2011 to 22, even though the report is 2020, we are not nowhere. The 2022 was in the 2021, the budget they read for 2022, so you can bring it here. You can see the light green. I don't know the name you call it. We call it light green. Some of us who went to Kajokrom Secondary School, you don't know the names of the colors. So light green, you have agric. So agric cut across all the years, which means agriculture is the priority area for all the government from 2011 to 2022. And then we have the one with blue, light blue, take it like that. We have roads and other infrastructure. The second one, third one, fourth one, we cut across. So the conclusion is that roads and other infrastructure and then agric are priority areas of the government. And the current year we are in now, that's 2020-2022, you have agric modernization, road, rail, and other critical infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and industrialization. And that is what we are embarking on now. it's not only the bad side, as I said, there are also good news. The good news is that apart from what we have against the use of ABFA, we also have there's benefits accrued of the use of ABFA. You are aware, Kotoka International Airport, you invested amount there, and it's generated a very good returns, income. Apart from that, when it comes to balancing, that's even bringing the revenue, making it even of all the regions, we always call the almighty SHS. That one, nobody can, go against it, that some people are enjoying it, while others are not enjoying it. It cut across. So these are some of the areas ABFA money has been used for. Here, the firstborn of key ABF issues, that is the problems. We have weak auditing and accountability, according to the writers. And then you have weak reporting, poor allocation and disbursement, poor implementation, and if any negligible impact of ABS spending in maximizing the rate of economic development. So that is it. We come to the finance. Very small letters for you to see, but the 4 groups we categorized earlier on, you have petroleum production, sales, and revenue collection. So here, the first one is talking about the impact we have had. We have come out with legal framework to govern the oil industry. In fact, when it comes to laws, Ghana is always #1. You come out with laws and parliament will approve. So we have a lot of acts guarding the petroleum revenue management. The country has made commendable efforts to try and increase the revenue. If the table is here, you see that every year revenue increases. That's the effort the industry is making. Energy transition has caused a fundamental rethink of how things are done in the industry, including licensing. That is the emerging issue I mentioned. And the Ghana upstream petroleum industry is still primarily an enclave with local industries. I want to discuss it, that when it comes to the experts, we dwell much emphasis on the foreigners instead of the Ghanaians. Revenue allocation too, in all, the total amount we have got from petroleum is 31.22 billion. Out of this one, what Ghana has got is 6.55 billion. Where are the rest? It goes out. So the report is just giving the analysis of the amount we are supposed to get. That's 6.55 out of 31.22. We need to improve the carrying and participating interest as a shareholder so that we can increase the amount. The has been allocated the highest amount of 2.6 billion over the period. These are all the key findings. And the breakdown is also given. GMPC receiving 2.0, representing both equity financing, and it's followed by the rest, the other institutions. In terms of allocation, so we find that the ABFA has been spent on 7 out of 12 priority areas. I explained that we have 12 priority areas and 4 are chosen. But if you look at it critically, out of the 12, 7 has been chosen. So what are you doing about the rest? But remember, it's not only ABFA who is the sole source of money for Ghana. You have other sources. When it is not chosen here, probably it's being taken care with the other sources. Management of Ghana Petroleum funds, that's the stabilization and then heritage. The lack of clearly defined investment policy has constrained the ability of the fund to earn higher returns. Here, every investment, being a corporate or individual, should have a policy. So if there's lack of clarity, it means we have some, but it's not clear as to how our investment to be made. And you are aware that Heritage Fund is there for investment. We don't withdraw from it. And if you look at it critically, the average interest will be about 2.1 to 2.5. Whereas here you can get a bond of 19% or 21%. So are you going to continue to invest it in those areas? That's what the report is saying. We find that 74 of the withdrawals from GSF has been used for debt repayment, while 21 has been allocated to contingency fund. That one I've already mentioned to you. But interestingly, only 4% has been utilized to shore up ABFA shortfall. Under normal circumstances, it will be used to cushion the economy in case of a decrease in the amount given to as a ABFA. But you see it going to service the debt. You see it going to, that is, contingency fund for other purposes. So that's the concern of the experts. So these debt repayments are symptomatic of developments within Ghana economy over the past years. In fact, if you have money, the little money you have as income for the month, just take it yourself, and 74 is going to use to settle your debt. Meanwhile, the debt, the amount you collected is not yielding anything. That is, you have to talk. So given the historical low returns, there's a need to rethink the Ghana Petroleum Fund investment strategy to generate comparable returns to a benchmark portfolio. Institutional assessment of revenue management. Here, if you look at the limitations, urging the Auditor General to make sure that the audit is done so that we can know the actual costs. There are other stakeholders. The actors should also get up and do their work so that we can achieve the benefits of the petroleum revenue. Regarding ABFA utilization, the PRMA falls short of prescribing the exact specifics or definition of 12 areas. If you give a discretion, I've been saying that if you give a discretion to the minister, always the minister is in a party, and they will make sure that it goes through what their manifesto would direct is where they will choose, so that they will satisfy their funds. So there's a limitation there. And then the requirements under section 21.2 of PRMA for ABFA to be used to maximize the rate of economic development, promote equality, is yet to be fully attained. Remember the 4 areas under PRMA, that is section 2, we listed 4 items there, we are yet to attain them. Way forward, stabilization agreement. The Ghanaian state needs to ensure that material change has been well established before change in the petroleum agreement. You have to look at the environment pertaining in Ghana, the changes before we change any act. The cost monitoring, I've mentioned it, the way the institutions come out with their profit, because always their costs are high, we have to make sure that we monitor the costs so that we get more profit for GRA to tax them. There's also the need for more institutional coordination and collaboration with other petroleum agencies to share data and ideas, because we all eat one bread, drink the same drink, so we have to come together, GMPC, Bank of Ghana, Ghana Gas, always you have to share ideas so that at least you can get a correct data. ABFA implementation, the ministry must ensure that ABFA projects are accompanied by robust monitoring and evaluation plan. PIAC, we are doing our best. The little we can do to ensure that the monitoring process is done, we are doing it. So the Ministry of Finance should also support PIAC so that we can do the monitoring very well. And not only PIAC and Ministry of Finance, GMPC Foundation, they are doing a lot of jobs. They are giving a lot of projects. They too can do a monitoring and ensure that there's value for money projects around. ABFA reporting and audit. I've already mentioned the weak reporting system and the weak auditing. We need to beef up so that at least we can sustain the little we have. Recommendation again, as a matter of priority, the Minister of Finance should forward to Parliament for approval for the long-delayed investment policy, which I have mentioned already, because the investment policy is what will direct us where to invest. But if we don't have a policy and we use our own discretion to invest wherever we like, then we will continue to receive little returns, which will not benefit Ghanaians. The Minister of Finance, in collaboration with IAC, must prioritize fast-tracking the development of the bench fund portfolio. And then I think the last one goes to GMPC and PIAC. GMPC needs the right corporate governance structure. I said, if you read the report, a lot of pages for GMPC. And the area they hammered that's bringing out leakages is on the corporate governance. They talk a lot of good things GMPC has done, but you cannot take the good things and go free. So the corporate governance area, they look at it, and the advice is that there's a need to look at it again and ensure that the corporate governance aspect or the structure is enhanced. When it comes to my own PIAC, you could do or go further in assessing mandate. If you give us 20 mandates, you will perform it. You will detail value for money and impact analysis of ABFA allocation. So coordinator, take note of it and let's do more. But the more we do, the more we get funds to support us. PIAC would need to deepen the advocacy to reach critical points and stakeholder groups. Last year, almost we went through all the regions, and we are going to repeat it by God's grace this year. So the recommendation will follow, and I will say thank you for your patience, for listening to me. God bless you all.
All right, we can acknowledge Prof again, please. It's interesting to note that all that Prof has presented are only highlights of the report. So it tells you how dense and how detailed the work the consultants on behalf of the committee have done. And so I would want to encourage every one of us to get the report, whether hard or soft copy, and read it for yourself. You will get to know more than what, because of the limitation of time, the chairman has been able to present to us. And everyone has something to do with it, whether a stakeholder, a citizen of Ghana, whatever role you occupy in this value chain, something about the report will interest you. So I'm sure that before the day ends, the soft copy will be on the PIAC website. And so we encourage that please go to the PIAC website, www.piacghana.org, and go and download a soft copy. Stakeholders, needless to say, will be served with hard copies of the report when the copies are ready. Let me also say that the committee, understanding that the report is dense and that the launch only seeks to present highlights and not the entirety of the report, plans to organize a public lecture based on the report, at which lecture the details, some more details than have been presented here, will be made known to the public. and a bigger opportunity for interaction will also be given to participants to ask questions, to make comments, to express views and sentiments, which, for obvious reasons, are difficult to allow in this forum. So if you have any question, any comment, any suggestion, we welcome it. We have secretariat@piacghana.org to receive these comments. We also have our telephone number to receive the comments as well. But we also have the public lecture coming up to receive all these comments, questions that we may have. Yesterday, the committee met a section of the media to take them through aspects of a report in order that their reportage will be accurate and spot on. So we'll continue with the engagement. Committee's doors are always open to the general public as it exists as a public interest organization. So our doors are open. But at this moment, permit me, with the authority of the chairman, to invite to the podium the Honorable Deputy Minister of Energy, Honorable Andrew Ejapa-Mensah, to make one comment or two after listening to the highlights of the report presented. Please, let's welcome Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC. Osofu Chairman. What's the designation? Executive Secretary, eh? No, Chairman, the PIAC. Chairman of PIAC and members of PIAC. Let me, with your kind permission, stand on the existing protocols that have been established and to bring you warm greetings from the Ministry of Energy. Indeed, when I got notice from my minister to represent him here yesterday, I was a little hesitant because I was in 2nd when the message came in. But having come here this morning and sitting through the presentation, I guess I can only say that I'm pretty much refreshingly excited to have been here, to come and spend time with you and to listen to the excellent work that PIAC has been doing over the past 10 years. Indeed, I've been a keen follower of the PIAC reports because I tend to speak quite often and a lot on political platforms. So it's important at all times to be abreast with the issues so that when I'm arguing, then I get my issues properly in context. And I am particularly excited with the work that PIAC has done. If you look at the mandate of PIAC, which is contained in Section 51 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act, it is clear that the framers of that legislation deemed it useful that we have an organization such as PIAC to monitor and evaluate compliance with the law, provide a space and platform for public debate like we are doing today and as has been done over the years, and to provide an independent assessment on the management and use of the revenue resources of our country. This work they've done excellently over the past 10 years with their biannual and annual reports that they issue. Indeed, I got served a copy of your biannual report, which covers the period January to June, sometime last 2 weeks. And I've been busily looking through in my spare time to get a clear grasp of what it is that we're doing. But significantly, we've earned only 6.55 billion over 10 years from our petroleum resources. Sometimes you hear the conversation within the public space that government has earned 40 billion over a period of time from oil receipts. But I guess that the figures speak for themselves. Indeed, of the 6.55 billion, the amount or the component that goes to our national budget itself, it's not even up to, if you take the GMPC, NOC support, what really is left for ABFA is about 25%. And so really, Ghana hasn't earned so much money from our petroleum resources. that tells us as a ministry that we ought to strive hard to, as it were, increase our exploration and production activity so that we can increase the revenue basket that we get from the petroleum resources. One observation that I also made was that even though we are essentially, the Ministry of Energy is a resource owner, holding in trust for and in behalf of the Republic of Ghana. Of course, we are signatories to all petroleum agreements, but the list of stakeholders of PIAC, the Ministry of Energy was conspicuously missing. And it's surprising that because it is revenue, we signed the agreement for the Ministry of Finance to then receive all the revenues and administer it without any recourse to us. So I guess that PIAC ought to look at that and engage with us so that the shortfalls that you find with our agencies, particularly GMPC and to a large extent Ghana Gas and Petroleum Commission, when it's brought to our attention in a formal engagement, we can then make our contributions. But I guess that by and large, PIAC's work needs commendation, and I'll ask that you all join me in commending them for the work that they've done over the past 10 years. And I wish them many more decades ahead to continue to do what it is that they're doing for the good people of this country. Thank you for your kind attention. Grateful.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now the highlights of the report have been presented. The Honorable Deputy Minister has made the comments he would like to make, and PIAC notes the complimentary comments he's made. I would like to go back to the chairman for the day, Reverend Dr. Upone Frimpong, and PIAC chairman to take it out from here.
Well, thank you very much. When Reverend Minister is with me, I don't feel anything. The third mandate of PIAC is to provide independent assessment. We are 10 years old, and we have provided the assessment. We're giving the highlights to the stakeholders. We are now going to give it to public at large. Therefore, we have to open it up. So we are opening it up now. So to open it up, it means you have to launch it. So ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and duty as a chairman of PIAC to declare the report of assessment study on the 10th year of petroleum revenue management duly launched. Thank you very much.
All right, so I'll go back to Reverend for his closing remarks, if any. Having steered the affairs of today's program very successfully, he will make his closing remarks.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we came here to listen to a story. And now we have been told a story. Beginning of this Ghana discovering oil, from the story we have been told, it came with some excitement, euphoria, hope. 10 years, we need to ask ourselves as a nation that have we been able to sustain that euphoria, that excitement, that hope, is it still with us? Is it going up or is it going down? And moving into the future, will those who will come after us be excited about the fact that we are an oil-producing country? I just want to invite all of us, the media, academia, that for us to be able to sustain the interest as a national interest, all of us must show interest in the work of PIAC. Traditional leaders, faith-based organization, let us come on board. Our various political parties, I'm happy this story is not just MPP or NDC's story, but all of you together. We are talking about 10 years. And so as we continue the discourse, I pray and hope that the public will help us not to do the usual thing we know best, making it MPP, NDC thing. Let's do a national conversation and let's hear other people's voices. Where we have done well, in fact, I heard from the Deputy Minister that 10 years we have had 6-point-something billion. And you are saying it's not enough, and I'm happy it's coming from you. Let us be objective in this conversation, celebrate where we ought to, and then where we must correct the wrong, let us have the boldness and the courage to do so. I pray and hope that we will be good stewards as Ghanaians, not only our political leaders, but even traditional leaders. Young people must be interested in this story because the future is theirs. If Ghanaians will still be excited about petroleum revenue, Ghanaian young people must be on board so that we will have a future that will give them opportunities. As I end my remarks, I want you to join me to say thank you to PIAC. You've done a good job. Not only the current leaders, but those who have held the mantle the past 10 years. Some have gone to glory, some are still with us. At least for those of us who are here, let's clap for PIAC. They've done very well. They've managed PIAC very well. The insult, I don't understand why when people are in opposition, they see PIAC as their best friend. When they are in government, then the narratives, the same people will come to opposition when they were insulting. Let me say insulting because it's not been very friendly, relationship over the years. But when the tables turn, those who were attacking PIAC yesterday, when they find themselves elsewhere, will still want to go to PIAC. And they will not even tell you, oh, we apologize for all the things we did yesterday. And quickly they want to be nice. Why are you not talking about this? Why are you not talking about the very thing that yesterday PIAC was saying? It's like in this country we want the truth, but we don't want to tell the truth. They go back to PIAC who was telling the truth yesterday, asking them, stop. Now tell the truth, tell the truth. But we celebrate PIAC today. You've served your motherland, and we pray and hope that you will strengthen yourself, build your shock absorbers, get us there. We are not there yet. Keep this nation on our toes. We need to be good stewards for those we are holding this gift as trustees for the days and years ahead of us. And let's thank all our stakeholders, all the consultants, all the technical people, all those who have made the petroleum revenue mobilization effort in this country, especially what PIAC does. Today we say thank you to all of you. Our friends in the media help us. You know, we came here to launch a report. We will want Ghanaians to know the content of this report, that we know the environment within which we do public discourse in this country. Let us stay focused and balanced, and don't allow few strong voices to overshadow the good work that we came here to do. On that note, we thank you all for being part of this story. Please, let us continue the story. Let us hear the story in our various communities, languages, faith-based organizations, churches, Muslim, everywhere. Let this story be told and be heard. Let us renew our strength as a country. Let us stay focused. Let us be a nation that inspires hope in our people, especially in our young people. A nation that gives opportunity to our young people. Till we meet again, may the good Lord bless our homeland Ghana and make this dear nation great and strong. PIAC, we celebrate you today. God richly bless you and all those who are part of this great story.
I think we could not have had a more powerful exhortation to end today's program, and certainly from a very experienced Reverend Minister of the stature of Reverend Dr. Opune Frempong. We have had on the program vote of thanks, but I think the chairman has done such excellent vote of thanks. And the only thing I would like to do on behalf of David, who would have come to do it, is to thank Reverend Opune Frempong himself, because he didn't thank himself. He's done such great work today, steering the affairs of the launch very, very effectively. And on behalf of the committee and on behalf of all the stakeholders, partners here gathered, we would like to thank Reverend Opune Frempong very profusely for the great work he's done. He came all the way from Kumasi just to chair the program for today. Mother Ghana is very grateful to you. You paid your dues while you were a member of the committee, and even as a former member, you are still interested in the things of the committee. Let's continually thank GIZ and SECO, and also thank once again Honorable Andrew Ejapa Mesa for gracing this occasion with his presence. The good news I have to share is that we have some few printed copies of the report for those of us who were able to make it to this place. So when we close, please remain seated. The secretariat staff will see to stakeholders who are here and at least get everyone a copy. Let me also acknowledge the Ministry of Finance. I have seen my friends from the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Joseph Sapon, Mr. Eric Okonko. Please, let's see you. We acknowledge you. Thank you for coming. We shall take the closing prayer from Al-Hajj Ahmad Suleiman Anderson, member of PIAC representing the Muslim groups.
Okay. My brothers, but not friends, lawyers, because I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not their friend, but I'm their brother. They will say, with greatest of respect, shall we be on our feet for this prayer? Almighty Allah, the most gracious and ever merciful, we are so grateful to Thee, for all praise belongs to Thee, and particularly for guiding us throughout this program and bringing us this far. God Almighty, we have come to the end of the program and are about leaving this place. But we are not leaving your presence. As we take steps out of this place to our various destinations, continue to be our guide, give us the protection that we need, so that at the end of our journey, you sit down and again sing thy praise. Accept this humble supplication of ours. Amen.
So please take your seat for a moment. We'll come around and serve you.